We're leading with the Greenbrier 5. The t-shirts have already been printed. Mitch, is this story more about West Virginia and what they were able to do with 5 eligible players after a just before halftime skirmish between the two teams? Or is it about Duke losing another one so early in the season?
That's a good question. I think it's about both, which is kind of a cop-out answer to that question, but that's the direction I'm going to go. I was at this game in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, down at the Greenbrier, which is a resort. This game was played in a ballroom, and there are a lot of people I think are a little bit turned off by like MTEs and these big event games that are played in ballrooms. But this was like a pretty cool atmosphere, I thought, and like very well done in terms of like the construction and the ambiance and just the atmosphere. It was sold out, so it was a small space, but there was like 1,200 fans or whatever packed in there, a lot of them West Virginia fans, as you might imagine. But yeah, I thought it was really well done by the people who organized this game. On to the game action. I have never seen anything like this before in my entire career covering college basketball.
Set the scene for those who may have missed this. Outside of the final score, West Virginia 57, Duke 49. Although I think at this point, most women's basketball fans, they know what happened, but maybe they don't know the details of what happened.
So yeah, in case you missed it, just before halftime, Duke is up 23-20. West Virginia's Jordan Harrison, probably the best player on their team, goes to kind of fire up a shot just at the buzzer. It gets blocked by Duke's Jordan Wood, who lets out one of those "let's go" yells right in Jordan Harrison's face. Jordan Harrison takes offense to this and shoves Jordan Wood. Jordan Wood shoves back. More shoves ensue, and West Virginia's bench empties. If you're familiar with the rules, you cannot come off the bench when there is an on-court altercation. And so there's this long halftime like deliberation between the referees. They're watching the film back. They're trying to figure out what happened and who they need to toss and who gets flagrants and the whole thing. So Jordan Wood gets tossed for Duke. Jordan Harrison gets tossed for West Virginia. Both got flagrant twos for fighting. And then 5 West Virginia bench players also got tossed, leaving the Mountaineers with a total of 5 players for the entire second half. And these 5 players, one of them was a starter, Sydney Shaw. The other reserves who were out there on the floor with Sydney Shaw were a transfer from Butler, a transfer from Texas Tech, a 5th-year guard who really hadn't played all that much. I don't think had ever really started many games. And then CC Riviere, who is a senior junior college transfer who had never played more than 20 minutes against a Power 4 opponent in 2 seasons at West Virginia. Going up against Duke, who had Toby Fournier, reigning ACC Rookie of the Year, and McDonald's All-American. After McDonald's All-American, when you talk about Riley Nelson and Ariana Robertson and
Emily Skinner did play in this game.
Yes, Emily Skinner. Who else am I thinking? Jaden Donovan. So the Duke roster is just stacked. You got all these McDonald's All-Americans, all these highly talented recruits. And to be quite honest with you, I think we talk sometimes about like how we just want to talk about women's sports like we talk about men's sports. So I'm going to borrow a phrase from Tony Kornheiser here. Duke laid down like dogs and they quit. They choked like dogs.
Wow.
It was bad. I don't really have another explanation. Like they quit. And West Virginia wanted it more is the only explanation I can come up with. I think Duke went 8 of 22 on layups. So like just blew a bunch of shots. West Virginia sat in this 2-3 zone and dared Duke to do something about it. And Duke did nothing. There were no adjustments made. There was nothing. West Virginia, like if you just look at on paper, like the rosters I read to you, what West Virginia had on the court and what Duke had on the court, you would take Duke to win by double digits every time. That this team couldn't just buckle down and get this done was astonishing to me. Just the way that they were just so incompetent that they couldn't beat a West Virginia team that had 5 players available. Even
So
still,
it's more about Duke is the point you're getting at. This is more about Duke.
I think so. I do think it is. It did show me something about West Virginia. Like, I think West Virginia is a lot better than we thought. I think Mark Kellogg is a hell of a coach to be able to get that done. To come out there with that game plan and to put that lineup together and to say, we're going to sit in this zone. And then with, I think, 5 minutes left, Cece Riviere gets her 4th foul. So then they have to move her to a different spot in the zone to kind of take her out of the paint. And they basically have a guard as the center in the 2-3 zone. And it worked. And he outcoached Kara Lawson, like, full stop. Outcoached Kara Lawson.
So to that point, because I was texting with some folks over the weekend, some of our listeners, casual basketball fans who saw this storyline and said, my goodness, this is now going to be the storyline going into Kara Lawson's tenure as the head coach of Team USA. And I said, when you couple it with the loss to Baylor and all the jokes surrounding that opening day loss about, oh my goodness, Duke is the Iowa football of women's basketball. They are setting the sport back because they refuse to play a modern offense. Yes, the excuses are being built in already. If you don't see Caitlin Clark dropping 30 plus per game and you don't see that offense coming together in the early goings of their time together. But in the same vein, I would like to think that the caliber of players that Kara Lawson will have at her disposal for Team USA will be even higher than that of all the All-Americans she has on this roster. But I don't know, because to your point, it's littered with McDonald's All-Americans.
Yeah. The vibes are not good around Duke right now. Not to mention, like, a little inside baseball here. Kara Lawson is now on her 3rd sports information director in her tenure, which
file that one away, folks. Just
so
file it away.
The vibes are just not good around Duke right now. I kind of got a chuckle and laughed and put this out on social media when it happened. We're sitting in the media workroom waiting for the press conferences to start after the game, and one of the staffers comes in and says, yeah, for Duke, it's just going to be coach. Yes, it is, because that's par for the course after embarrassing losses in the Kara era. West Virginia handled hard better. Yes, they did. For West Virginia, I was just like, okay, this team is better than I thought. The Big 12 overall is better than I thought. Mark Kellogg is better than I thought. I think they're a team that, like, we need to keep an eye on. They're in the top 25 this week. And Duke, like, they just have a lot of things to figure out. Because the Baylor loss, I could forgive because you didn't have Emily Skinner and Ariana Robertson. Both of them played in this game. And afterwards, Kara basically said the only players that she thought gave effort and played well in this game were Taina Mayer and Ariana Robertson. So, like, she did her part in calling out her players, and they did bounce back, and they got a win at Liberty on Sunday. But they have a lot of really tough games coming up. They're going to go out to this MTE in Las Vegas and play against South Carolina, and then either Texas or UCLA. Oh, and then they got LSU at home in the first week of December. So if they got to get some things together and really figure it out, if they don't want to get embarrassed again, because that is, like, one of the most just shocking and embarrassing losses I've ever seen the Triangle women's basketball team take.
John Rothstein says that the West Virginia men's basketball team is tougher than a weekend at your in-laws. I would say they are more than just JJ Quinterly. They are tougher than a weekend at your in-laws and then some, because they did hard better. Again, final score, West Virginia 57, Duke 49, as the Mountaineers have now made their season debut in the AP Top 25 poll. And to Mitch's point, yes, I do think that today's program will have a bit of a Big 12 flair to it.